This is our Learn to Build series. We want to teach you all the steps to building a home so that you can understand it. It can maybe help you. If you get value in this, please like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're just trying to give back as much info as we can to help alleviate a lot of questions and nervousness that people have so that they can see the process from start to finish. We are forming up the walls for this custom house we're doing over here in Chalfont, Bucks County. They're finishing up the last final forms. You can see there's a footer down there. We got a lot of water a couple days ago, but this stage of construction is probably the most sensitive to weather. You're dealing in mud, you're dealing in subterranean, but we were able to get the hole cleaned up. The stone was done, so that helps them work on a surface. So essentially, they're using aluminum forms. This house has 9-foot walls. There is an option to go 10-foot walls sometimes when people want like a really deep basement, if they have a golf simulator or something like that. You have the footer, you tie into the walls together with some rebar. Here we have rebar and we have a keyway, which helps support the wall so it doesn't kick out at the bottom. And they'll get this formed up. Once it's formed up, so they're gonna go around and square all the forms up, make the wall straight, string line and snap lines. And then once it's square, they'll be putting their planks all the way around it so that when they pour, they're using the planks to walk on either side. So the forms go on top of the footer, right? So the forms are sitting directly on the footer. And the footer will vary on size depending on what project you're at. They could be 24 inches wide, 18 inches wide, 10 inches deep, 12 inches deep. It all depends on the structural load of the house, and it all depends on the soil. Here, luckily, and most of where we build, we have really good soil. It's usually rock, shale, so you can see it come out. You know, you have really compacted rock on most digs. There are a couple patches of sandy soil throughout Bucks County, but mostly rock. So these footers are gonna be nice and tight. They're gonna be super strong. This is the last hurrah, because once you pour this house, we have a couple checks, because once you get this done, it's like, boom, your house ain't changing. You know, you can't add that extra bump out. You're not doing this, you're not doing that without significant amount of work. We do a couple quality control checks. We have the footers initially marked out when we dig. So we don't rely on our contractor to mark out, I guess, the dig stakes and the property corners. We rely on an engineer to do that. We field check it with our own measurements. Once the footer's done, we have the engineer come back and mark the footer. So you can kind of see on the footer themselves, when they pin the footer, there's spray paint on the footer. So the engineer comes back and they spray the corners. If you were to go to an outside corner, you would see that. They spray the corners. They really like pen to make sure that you are on the right location, especially on a house like this where, you know, we're pretty tight to the setback line. So we don't really want to get too close. I think we're within a foot. So, you know, normally if you're building a 5-acre lot, you build the home 1 foot here or there. Not that that happens. It wouldn't matter. Here we have a tighter property line. You really want to make sure that you're close. You don't mess that up. This home is pretty big. This is a first floor master. I think the footprint's about 3,500 feet. With the garage. It's a massive footprint. The home itself is about 5,000 feet. The forming takes a couple days. So the whole process, you dig the home. It's probably, this was a 2-day dig in this particular case. You then have to form up the footers. That's usually about a day or two. Inspection, pour. The whole process between start of the footer to finish of the wall usually takes about 3 weeks. Sometimes you can get done sooner. Sometimes with weather, it takes longer. Then we set steel. So the next step in this house is the framer will come and they'll mark out the steel locations, which is sitting over on you know, we get all the steel dropped so they know exactly what size they make the beam pockets. So there's no guesswork on what size the steel is. So the steel is here, framer comes in, he sets the steel, and then we do an as-built for the township. So this township, most townships require an as-built saying, okay, you built the home in the right height it was supposed to go, in the right location it was supposed to go. And while that happens, we usually do underground plumbing, get all that done, because once all the underground plumbing's done, the steel is set, and then we pour the basement floor before we frame the house. So the framing here probably won't start for about 3 weeks. Just because we have to do all those other steps, but we really want a clean floor to work on. We want all the underground plumbing done. We want the garage slab poured, so that gives it time to cure. and then we're working on like a really clean surface when we're framing. There's gonna be some doors and some windows in this house. So here we have a double slider for the walk upstairs. That's what we're looking at directly right here. So we get them the rough opening sizes of the door. They block the form, so when the concrete pours, it won't pour where the door goes. We do the same thing. This home has 3 large windows in the back. So we do the same thing back there as well with the grade. Here we actually have exposed windows, so the basement's gonna feel more like a first floor. We get them all that information now, and that way when they pour it, we try to limit the amount of times we have to cut concrete. So you'll kind of see a perforated drain down here. This is that black pipe, it's 4 inches big. That has holes all around it. So that drain gets covered in clean stone that you see on the inside, and that drain will take the water from the foundation. So we actually just went through a big flooding in this area, and this is one of the areas that if you can help mitigate and get the water away from your foundation, because there's always water up against your foundation, you waterproof it, you waterproof the footer, but there's a lot of water that can sit at the bottom of the footer, and the faster you get that away from your house, the better. Worst case scenario is that it goes inside to a sump pump, and then that gets taken out. So this home is gonna have an interior drain and an exterior drain. So any water that may go up from the ground up will get taken out, and any water that's sitting on the outside of the home will also get taken out. In this case with this home, and we try to in any home we build, is have a gravity drain. So the sump pump will be the last resort. Other than that, we're gonna have a natural flow out of the basement groundwater away from the house. Here we have the slope to do that, so we will add that in. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, if you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel to find out more from Learn to Build series. Our next step is pretty much gonna be steel and underground plumbing, and then we're gonna go on to framing from there.